What if your last goodbye was written in ink, sealed in an envelope, and left behind in case you never returned? What if history remembered your triumph, but forgot your heart? This is the story of a man who flew not for fame, not for money, but to keep a promise. In an attic in Ireland, discovered in a rusted box, lay a letter that was never meant to be read unless something went wrong. It was written in 1919 by Captain John Alcock, the night before he attempted the impossible, to fly across the Atlantic in a plane made of wood and canvas, with no guarantee he'd live to see the sun rise. The letter was addressed to his mother. A single page, ink slightly smudged. It began with 3 words. If I don't return. John Alcock wasn't just a pilot. He was a son, a brother, a young man haunted by war. He had been shot down in World War I, captured, tortured, freed, but never the same. And yet, when the opportunity came to do something no one else had done, he said yes. Not for glory, but because he believed the world needed hope. In his letter, he promised 2 things. If I survive, I'll never fly again. I'll come home and stay close. If I don't, know that I flew with love in my heart, not fear. These were not the words of a daredevil. These were the words of a son trying to soften the blow of death for his mother. The next morning, with Lieutenant Brown beside him, John Alcock took off from Newfoundland. No radio, no parachute, no modern navigation. They were flying into fog, into storms, into the unknown. Brown nearly froze to death during the flight. Instruments failed. They didn't even know if they were on course. But they kept going, hour after hour. Why? The world cheered. Headlines screamed their names. They were heroes. But that night, Alcock sat alone, staring at the stars. Letter still folded in his coat pocket. He had survived, but something in him hadn't. 6 months later, on another flight, John Alcock crashed. And this time, he didn't make it home. It would be nearly 100 years before the letter was found, tucked inside a uniform box, unread, untouched, and yet still powerful enough to move anyone who held it. Because in that letter was everything the history books forgot. So the next time you hear about the first transatlantic flight, don't just remember the distance, or the storm, or the glory. Remember the promise, the letter, the son who flew not for history, but for love. Stories like these deserve to be remembered, not just in history books, but in hearts. Subscribe to the Forgotten Gospel, where lost voices, hidden truths, and untold sacrifices come alive again. Because some stories were never meant to be forgotten.